Hello and welcome to Football on 5 for another show of freshly packed EFL highlights. Tonight, in the company of Reading midfielder Dave Edwards. We'll find out how he got on against Brentford a little later in the show. But this week, the game has mourned the death of a footballing giant. Cyril Regis, a legend at West Bromwich Albion and Coventry City. Cyril was the epitome of a classic centre-forward, quick and powerful, the scorer of some truly memorable goals. He was a standard-bearer, a trailblazer for black footballers, an inspiration. Tributes have continued across the country today. There was a minute's silence at Crewe, where Wycombe were the visitors. Memories were shared at Coventry City, where he won the FA Cup, at Wolves and also at Aston Villa. And we start this week's show at Villa Park. Barnsley were the visitors, and commentary comes from Paul Walker.
Desperate stuff from Pinnock, given away to Snodgrass. And swept away by Liam Lindsay, only as far as Bjarnason. Kiefer Moore wins another header. That could be a vital tool for Barnsley today. El Mohammadi swings it in. Hogan's there! Less than 5 minutes gone. Scott Hogan makes it 3 in 3. Aston Villa off to a flyer. El Mohammadi swings it in, and Scott Hogan nips in to stick it beyond Adam Davis. Barnsley failing to clear their lines, and Scott Hogan will gobble those kind of chances up all day long. Villa hungry for more. Here's Grealish, Snodgrass. They are queuing up in the middle here. Still Snodgrass. Deflected corner. Oh, it's a lightning start from the men in claret and blue. Swung in by Snodgrass, right over the goalkeeper. It's another one! Scott Hogan again! 2 goals in 90 seconds for Scott Hogan. He cannot believe his luck. Woeful defending from Barnsley. Less than 7 minutes on the clock, and Aston Villa have a vice-like grip on the game already. And Scott Hogan has his second of the afternoon. Villa 2, Barnsley 0. But Paul Heckingbottom's team in a big hole already. But Aston Villa fans absolutely enjoying this one. McCarthy stands it up for Kiefer Moore, who's tussling there with Alan Hutton, and Barnsley have a corner. Stevie Mallon with a Barnsley corner. Good header! Barnsley back in it! 3 goals in the game already, barely 11 minutes gone. And Dimitri Cavare has put Barnsley back in with a shout, a thumping header. Adoma running at Cavare, showed too much of it to him. And again, Barnsley struggling to clear. Grealish jinking his way through. Grealish, lovely ball inside. Conor Hourihane! From Barnsley hero to villain. Conor Hourihane makes it 3-1 Aston Villa. A player who Barnsley supported once adored restores Aston Villa's 2-goal cushion. All created by Jack Grealish. Well, it has been snowing and we've had an avalanche of goals. Grealish. Hourihane. Scott Duncan in the way of Jack Grealish. On it goes to Hourihane. Hogan is waiting. Oh, and almost put in his own net by Pinnock. Well, it's a crucial interception in the end because Scott Hogan was left unmarked. The referee takes a tumble there. Play goes on. Very important interception. That man there will have plenty to say at half-time. Adoma. Got the break of the ball, Grealish. Rolled round the corner for Adoma, he's got there. There's Hogan! So close to his hat-trick. Brilliant sweeping move from Aston Villa. What a ball from Grealish. And Hogan denied by the upright. Good hold-up play from Hogan. And Villa on the break here. Snodgrass. Grealish. It's Grealish teeing up Hourahan. Should have at least hit the target. And he knows it. But Hourahan places his effort wide. Over the top. Kiefer Moore chasing it down with Chester. He's forced the error, has he? Well, it stayed in. It's Kiefer Moore. Great chance here for Barnsley. Still Kiefer Moore! Oh, he's ballooned it over the top. Well, that is a golden opportunity for Kiefer Moore to open his account for Barnsley. John Terry. Oh, it's a mistake from him. And it's put Barnsley on the break. It's Tom Bradshaw. He's got Kiefer Moore up there with him. It's Bradshaw! Oh, he should have scored. Here's Moncur. George Moncur! Johnston clings onto it this time. Well, they've had two great opportunities, Barnsley, in the last few minutes. Tom Bradshaw forces a brilliant save out of Johnston. And when it comes back to George Moncur, the Villa goalkeeper able to get hands on it. It is 4 successive wins for Aston Villa. They are looking up.
I've been lucky throughout my career. I've always scored, and I've come to a place where I've not scored. So it happens in everyone's career, and you've just got to keep going and deal with it. And thankfully, or hopefully, I'm on the back end of that now, and with the light at the end of the tunnel sort of thing.
You got to win on the day where everybody's remembering someone very special in Cyril Regis.
Yeah, I mean, he played here for a short time, and he's going to be remembered mostly for his work at West Brom and of course Coventry. He's paved the way, and I'm sure so many black lads in particular have looked at somebody like Cyril Regis and thought, I'm going to be like him. And he was a great man too, which is important. Like everybody else, I think our thoughts are with his family and friends and people who are close to him, because I'm sure they'll sadly miss him.
It's fitting when we remember a great number 9, such a wonderful number 9 in Cyril Regis. He probably would have had a smile about the performance of another number 9 today in Scott Hogan.
Yeah, it was really a terrific performance. He's done ever so well. He's worked his way through the football pyramid and obviously got his break at Brentford, and again went through some adversity with his ACL injury, but it's great to see him back now and playing well and obviously getting goals.
A little bit slow, perhaps, the start of the season when he first comes to the club, but then to get this 4 in his last 3 games as well for Hogan, and these 2 of quality today, could have had a hat-trick.
He could, yeah. He's been obviously a little bit unlucky that they've got other great strikers as well, but that shows what he's all about. He's a poacher. He works very hard and he gets himself in position to score goals, and obviously very unfortunate not to get the 3 today.
What's he like to play up against then?
He's a pest. He really does it. He works so hard. I remember at Brentford, he would run the channel relentlessly. He's big and physical as well, and yeah, he's a great asset to have in any team.
Villa, do they have a whiff of a team about them now that's building towards those playoffs?
I think so. I think at the start of the season they seem to be sort of stuttering a little bit, but now they find a bit of form and the
automatic promotion.
I think they're going to be in a shout. You look at there's Derby up there with them as well, and Cardiff, but I think that they're the informed team at the moment, and they've got so much quality in the squad, and obviously a very experienced manager in Steve Bruce, so I think they'll be right up there at the end of the season. Yeah, good win for Aston Villa. Barnsley, though, they gave them a few rough scares at the end, but Villa coming out with all 3 points. There's plenty more to come then after the break, including a quite bonkers afternoon at Ellen Road, where Leeds and Millwall produced a game that had a little bit of everything from red cards, argy-bargy, and not 1, but 2 incredible comebacks. Thank you, as always, for being with us this Saturday night on Football on 5. Our next 3 championship matches start with Millwall's trip to Ellen Road to face Leeds.
It's been a labour of love for Millwall fans who've hit the highways and byways this season in the hope of seeing their team win on the road. No luck so far in that department, and none for Jed Wallace either, who managed to hit the target, only for a late flag to put a stop to all of that. But Millwall channeled their frustration into a furious assault on the Leeds goal, and they got what they wanted shortly afterwards, when Aidan O'Brien made it 4 goals in his last 3 matches. The Leeds response was robust, a little too robust from Liam Cooper, whose lunge at George Saville meant a contest that was simmering gently threatened to boil over everywhere. Referee David Coote was a busy man, showing red to Cooper and inviting assistant managers from both teams to watch from the stands. They would just about have taken those seats in time to see Millwall double their advantage, Lee Gregory getting in where it hurts, literally. The half-time cuppa worked its magic for him, but also for the home side, who responded just 20 seconds after the restart. Pierre-Michel Lasogga choosing the perfect moment to end a 2.5-month goal drought. Game on, and a potential game of the season was beginning to take shape, especially when Leeds equalised. Not a goal that Millwall keeper Jordan Archer will enjoy, because in amongst the mayhem that followed, Kamar Roof found a finish that wasn't pretty, but it was significant. If Millwall were wobbling like a heavyweight who'd taken an uppercut to the chin, they were given a standing count when Lasogga popped up with a gem to leave the visitors on the ropes. Neil Harris's men were certainly down, but definitely not out of it, and they had a few punches of their own, as Tom Elliott proved 3 minutes from time. And the Londoners struck a knockout blow in stoppage time. Wallace made the most of some tired Leeds legs and looked like he might just run all the way back to the Den with those precious 3 points.
We should have been outside at half-time. You're 2-0 up playing against 10 men. You should be professional enough to see that game out. But then we showed a little bit of quality towards the end, that we, you know, the quality we've got, the goals we scored. Yeah, I'm pleased with 3 points at Ellen Road, but there's a tinge of disappointment in certainly our second half performance.
We have to get punished before we react. So we need to react before we get punished, and then we will have better results.
Fulham were 17th in November, but they started the day 1 point and 2 positions outside the playoffs, and they looked Premier League quality here. Lucas Piazon setting up Rui Font to get the ball rolling. Burton had won their last 3 on the road, but that run looked likely to come to an abrupt end when Piazon doubled his side's lead with a composed finish after the half hour. Consider the floodgates open. Font had only managed 1 Fulham goal before today, but he bagged 2 before the break. This time the Portuguese had Ryan Fredericks to thank for the assist, as he eventually found the back of the net. If Slavisa Jekanovic's men took a few months to get going this season, then now the engine really seems to be purring. It was more of the same in the second half as Ryan Sessegnon got in on the act. Sessegnon has been attracting plenty of interest from elsewhere of late, and you can see why the 17-year-old is so in demand, poking home from close range again here for his 9th of the season. With the transfer window still very much open, Fulham fans are surely hoping that the teenager would stop attracting so much attention to himself. Fortunately, Abubakar Kamara was on hand to distract any potential suitors with this delightful finish. The Fulham weren't in the promotion conversation already, and they sure are now.
My strikers made a great job today. They were clinical. They showed the quality at the end. Between 2, they scored 3 goals and made an important job for the team.
We'll definitely make the playoffs, possibly higher, because as the season progresses and teams start to tire, the way we keep the ball, we'll just pick teams off. And I don't think once we get into our flow, I don't think there's a team in this league good enough to stop us.
QPR have been in better form of late, but this Jack Robinson shot was as good as it got against Middlesbrough, for whom Tony Pulis is starting to work his magic. Borough took the lead through Daniel Ayala, who has already scored 3 goals since Pulis took over on Boxing Day. He inherited a team struggling for confidence, but things are changing rapidly. This screamer from George Friend had Borough on the way to a 4th win from Pulis' 6 matches. With his know-how and a deep squad, Middlesbrough look capable of going on a promotion-clinching run. Adama Traore's first goal for the club completed their win in West London. On this evidence, Borough are ones to watch in 2018.
In the first 15 minutes, I thought QPR were really dangerous. We got through that 15 minutes, scored a goal, and it just settled us down, and we played well. And we did that last week against Fulham. and we didn't get the result that we deserved. But today I thought we deserved the result.
And the second goal was just an absolute joke from my point of view. They overhit it down one side. They moved it square, 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 and then a fullback can smack it in from that far with nobody getting it in the breadbasket with it. It's just, what are we doing? That ain't us.
Ain't us. Perhaps isn't George Trent first goal in 2 years. He used to do that in training?
I haven't seen him do it before. No, he has got a lovely left foot, so it's not surprising.
So maybe not the joke then. We might rename this section Goal Rush because there are plenty to talk about. Let's go to that Leeds Millwall game then. We'll start with the sending off. No doubt in your mind over this one?
No, not at all. He's obviously taken a big touch and been over anxious to go and win the ball back, and I think it's obvious for everyone to see that it was a definite red card, and surprised to see so many complaints there.
His second sending off Liam Cooper of the season, but that's Leeds' third in a row. All discipline really costing them.
It is. Obviously, it cost them last week at Ipswich as well, and it's something they need to rectify quickly because they're trying to put a promotion charge together, and it helps when you've got 11 players on the pitch. I
mean, I say costing them, but what an incredible comeback.
It was, and I think getting the goal so quickly after half-time really did help. And then with Ellen Road, such a lively atmosphere, I think the momentum would have gotten back into the game.
Yeah, lively's the word for it for Lasogga, but then for Elliott to make it 3-3, it can be lively when you're winning, but when you're going down and then eventually when you're losing in the last couple of minutes, stinker.
Yeah, I bet it wasn't a nice place for the Leeds players at the end, but I think Millwall, as usual, full of energy, and they deserve that goal at the end.
Yeah, I know you know Wallace well too. First away win of the season for Millwall. What is it from Neil Harris that he manages to get out of these players?
I think he just demands hard work right from every aspect of their play, and you can see that we played them at the Den this year, and it's a real hard place to go and get results, and it's been a fortress for them. But to go away to Ellen Road today and get the result, it's something they haven't been doing on the road, so they'll be really pleased with that. Could
just be a turning point. And then we turn to the small matter of Fulham and their 6 goals. We'll show you the 6th, the last, the icing on the cake. Not bad from Kamara.
No, he's done really well in recent games, starting to get his goals. He's quick and athletic, and obviously full of confidence. You can see by that goal at the end.
5 in 4 now for Kamara, and that's their biggest win for Fulham since 2011. Next up, 2 more games, and first it's the runaway leaders Wolves up against Nottingham Forest.
A visit from Forest gave Wolves an opportunity to extend a 12-point lead at the top of the EFL. But barring Diego Jota's early effort, they found themselves struggling against a Forest side winless in 6 league games. But Ben Osborne's enterprising free kick would lead to a change in fortune. From the resulting corner, Kieran Dow scored his 10th goal of the season, and the Reds were on their way. 2 goals in 3 first-half minutes nudged Forest toward their first win under Aitor Karanka. Osborne, the scorer, as the tricky trees inflicted upon Wolves a first home defeat since August. Danny Fox might even have extended Forest's lead in the second half as a stunned Wolves succumbed to a 4th straight game without a win. Is that a blip, or is it something more serious?
Tough result, losing. But we lost after 13 games, so we knew that this day will come, and it's about bouncing back. First, take a good look, but the first moment is disappointing, but conscious that we didn't do a good game.
The main thing for me is that the people, as I said in my press conference when I arrived, now they are coming back home, really proud of their players.
Sheffield United have lost the winning habit, and new loan signing James Wilson had forgotten what it felt like to score, but both would be rectified at Carrow Road, with Wilson enjoying his first strike for 20 injury-ravaged months. Norwich, remember, had given Chelsea a real run for their money in the Cup this week, and here were the Blades doing the same to them. Enda Stevens a whisker away from making more mischief. But Chris Wilder's men did put themselves in the driving seat when Clayton Donaldson chased a lost cause and won it. That said, he still had plenty to do, but his 5th goal of the season meant just 1 win in 10 would become 2 in 11. Mind you, the Canaries did make a fight of it, thanks to a peach from Ivo Pinto. The question was, would there be time for the home side to grab a point? Well, nearly. Christoph Zimmermann tried to replicate Pinto's effort, but Simon Moore just about saw it coming to secure a first Blades win since Boxing Day.
We needed to marry up a decent performance with a result and a win, and challenge the players before the game to do that, and they've come up trumps.
Yeah, well done to Sheffield United. Also well done to Aitor Karanka, his first win as Nottingham Forest boss. But on to your old club, Wolves. Last season you were joint top scorer in the league. What a difference a season makes.
Yeah, obviously the fortunes have definitely changed at Wolves, and I think they've been absolutely excellent this year. And from a personal note, I could see it in pre-season when I was still there. They've got a very, very good manager, and obviously the squad of players they've got is truly magical. And then obviously once a club like Wolves gets going and starts winning games, then the whole city gets behind it, and you can see the results of that.
What can you pinpoint as that moment then? We all talk about the super agent George Mendes coming in. Clearly you mentioned the manager too.
Well, I think the Fosun Group, who obviously own Wolves, they've got this link to George Mendes, and they've used it in the right way. He's obviously got a calibre of players that he's got access to, and obviously the manager as well. Probably wouldn't be a Championship manager if it wasn't for George Mendes, so Wolves have got to be grateful for that. But then bringing in the players like Costa and Cavallero last year, and then this year building on that, you've got Neves, who's probably the best midfielder the Championship's seen, Diogo Jota, Willy Bolly, even Bonatini as well came in, and I'm just worried for the Premier League when they do get promoted, who they're going to be bringing in next, because it could be Cristiano Ronaldo through the door.
Really? Heard it here first. I mean, he's clearly got contacts, so I don't know where you've heard that one, but I'll start that rumour. Yeah. Do I need to start a rumour about a wobble, though, for Wolves, or you got no doubts over them?
No, I don't. I think they're very down to earth in the work they've done. They've never got carried away. And even though you've got all those players I just mentioned, you've still got the British heart to the team, if you like. They've got Connor Cody, who's been brilliant this year, Matt Doherty, Barry Douglas, Ryan Bennett, obviously John Ruddy in goal as well.
Yeah, but they need a few more goals, don't they?
They do, obviously. I think they've only scored 11 in 11, which obviously, judging their first half of the season, it's not as good as it was then, but they've got goals in the team, and I'm sure they'll carry on and take the Championship West Storm.
All right, I've tried and failed to wind him up. This evening's late kick-off saw Cardiff and Neil Warnock head to Hillsborough, where he's always guaranteed a warm welcome, to take on Sheffield Wednesday in Jos Luhukai's first home game in charge. Your commentators, Don Goodman and Gary Weaver.
Neil Warnock, Sheffield born and bred, a blade through and through. Back in his home city, looking to bring more trouble to Sheffield Wednesday's door. The reason that Jos Luhukay has switched to three at the back since he arrived was that he felt Sheffield Wednesday were too open with what he saw when they were playing 4-4-2. And this way he can still have two strikers up top. The referee has blown for that. Fabulous finish from Kenneth Saw.
Again, I think he's a little bit unlucky, you know. It's a 50-50 ball, two men go for it, big, strong, powerful men. Assistant referee doesn't move a muscle. Roger East from some way away decides that is an infringement.
As ever, Neil Warnock making his point. He is a qualified referee, by the way.
The work rate to win the ball back from Cardiff, outstanding.
Nice link-up play as well between Vilchut and Hoylett. And this is Marco Grujic. Wildsmith got down to it again.
It's a fine strike and an equally fine save.
Yeah, he does have that in his locker, Marco Grujic, shooting from distance. Well, on Daniel Padil. A pack of beers left on his doorstep after his performance in the Sheffield derby last week by a fan. David Jones came from nowhere to take that as they tried to catch Cardiff out, and Jordan Rhodes couldn't divert the header on target.
Clever free kick, brilliant ball in. What a chance that is.
Venancio. Here's Zhao again, looking to cause problems for Cardiff City. He's picked out Jordan Rhodes, who couldn't finish it. Adam Reach, he couldn't do it either. Sheffield Wednesday's best moment.
Oh, there's the warning sign for Cardiff. Again, that man, Lucas Zhao, a willing worker, a willing runner, trying to make something happen. It's out Jordan Rhodes, and you fancy him, don't you? And that is a big chance for Sheffield Wednesday.
That could be trouble. This is Jordan Rhodes, has Zhao for company. And now it's Lucas Zhao! That was his big moment.
What a chance. What a chance. Just lacks a little bit of composure. Cardiff get away with one. And he's got to force the goalkeeper to save that. Lucas João.
Bamba, and this is Jordan Rhodes. João's in the middle, and it's kept out by Etheridge. Another chance for Lucas João that he doesn't take.
Lucas João, what a chance. He generates lots of power. He should be scoring from a chance like that.
Now Grujic. And Manga step forward. There's Jazz Richards. And Bilchut.
Oh, brilliant effort. Hands-on-head moment from a player who has been pretty quiet. But that is a brilliant first touch. Decent second. That is mighty close.
That won't last long, will it? Fourth official and Neil Warnock both smiling?
No. Lots that he will be pleased about. That's Lukai. We'll have to wonder at this stage, would Neil Warnock be happy with a point? But he's just insisted that Sol Bamba head forward.
Well, this would be his perfect return to Sheffield, wouldn't it? Neil Warnock, a late goal. And it's Mendes Lang who played it in, and Zahor was looking to pounce in the 6-yard area.
How close was Kenneth Zahor to getting a toe on that? Not a million miles away. And in the end, Joe Wildsmith does well.
We've got so many players out injured. Will you need to sign a few more players before the transfer window shuts?
Yeah, I think that not come very fast players back from injuries, but I'm happy with the players what I see every day. So they try to give every day 100%. So also today, but with a little bit luck, we can win today. So then we must not speak about no new players.
Does it feel like a bit like a missed opportunity with Wolves losing today?
Yeah, I think so. But we're just glad to be where we are. It's a great season so far. What pleases me more is we were more like ourselves the last 3 games. You know, that's 3 games undefeated. I know it's only not a great step, but I think I'm feeling a lot better about it. Now we can just have an easy day next week against Man City and concentrate on Leeds the week after.
You wouldn't expect any less, would you, from Neil Warnock? I wonder, though, how he's ruined that perhaps with the Wolves result and closing that gap. But a quick word on Sheffield Wednesday. Have you been surprised, perhaps, at how they've started the season, given their performance over the past couple of seasons?
Yeah, they've really been pushing over the last couple of seasons to get back in the Premier League. Such a huge club, like there is so many in the Championship, but they've got these really exciting players, very attack-minded, and for whatever reason this season hasn't quite clicked. I think the new manager had to come in and go back to basics a little bit, and he's got them working extremely hard again, and you can see that by
He's got them in for breakfast every day as well.
I know, it's a bit of a shock in the football world, I suppose, but no, he sounds like he likes a regimented routine, and obviously 2 clean sheets and being organised, it seems like it's working.
Football clearly that simple. Get them in every day for breakfast and you're done.
Exactly, it goes a long way.
Yeah, maybe. I heard that worked at Wolves too. Stay with us for more big games in the Championship. Dave was an interested observer at the Madejski, and Reading and Brentford didn't hold back as they both went in search of an important 3 points. Welcome back to Football on 5. Our next Championship action features one of the form teams. Sadly, it's not Dave Edwards' Reading. Brentford were the visitors at the Madejski today. Dave, you were on the bench, so this is, no pressure, Dave's eye view. And Brentford started strongly.
They did, yeah. It was a little bit cat and mouse at the start, but Brentford came out of the traps quite fast, and so they had a good chance early on. But I thought we defended quite well. Vito obviously made a really good save here, and Chris Guttner helped him out with a block as well. But no, they were really impressive, Brentford were in the opening 15 minutes.
The old bodies on the line in the first half, then into the second.
Yeah, well, Tyler Blackett here makes a great block, considering he'd literally just come on the pitch at half-time, and to show his mobility so early on in the game for him, and that was a real good block from him. But we came back with some good opportunities as well, and John Daddy Bavar, some fresh off 3 goals in the week, had a great chance there, and we disappointed. Liam Kelly's got so much quality on the dead balls and was unlucky there as well.
So at this stage you felt you had enough to come back into it?
Definitely, and then literally just before this we had a really good chance, and within 20 seconds they broke down the other end, and it was a little bit scrappy, and obviously disappointing to concede such an easy goal, really.
Should we be doing better there, perhaps, your defenders?
I think so. I think right the way through the team we felt we could have done better there. But again, we kept going, and Mo had a decent chance there, and we brought Jan Kermorgan on who tried to make a difference as well with two up top, but unfortunately the ball just wouldn't quite drop for us.
So not dropping right at the end, but again, the shoulder's not dropping, and then Brentford, Manoni stepping up again.
Yeah, we were always vulnerable to this once we'd gone the 1-0 down because we were pushing so many men forward, and Vito is a very good shot stopper and once again proved his worth there, not once but twice. But say still at this point we're still trying to get the ball in the box and just hoping that something will drop to us so we can get the ball in the back of the net.
And also when you're looking at the players, perhaps that it drops to, perhaps maybe you should get more out of that.
Possibly, yeah. It's a difficult one when the ball's that sort of height and you don't know whether to chuck your body at it or go over your foot. But yeah, we're bitterly disappointed. We need to be winning games of football at the moment, and unfortunately today we couldn't. The reaction from the horse's mouth. What about the managers then?
I thought we created some really good chances today, and thankfully one went in with Lasaviba. But it's still a tough place to come. They probably don't deserve to be where they are in the league, Reading, and they make it very difficult. But I thought we defended really well and restricted them to few chances. And on the balance of chances in the game, we deserved to win.
We knew from the start from this season that it wasn't going to be the same as last season. That we really wanted to or needed to fight very hard for our points. And a lot of people might think, okay, automatically a season before you've done well, so the next season is going to happen again. That's not always how it goes, basically, because there's a lot of examples before us.
Not one to rub it in anymore, Dave. Here's a very happy Billy the Bee.
That was a big result today. 2 months ago, we would have lost that game, but things have changed for us. In defence, we used to make silly mistakes, but we've got this duo now. Mepham, the young boy, and Bielen, the old head, together, they are brilliant. And you can see them out there today, holding the Reading team out. They had chances today, Reading did, but we held them out. And you're talking about playoffs, January, normally Brentford take it to another level.
Billy says you had chances, but the result is now winless in 8 games in a real relegation scrap.
Yeah, we are. We have to be really blunt and honest with ourselves that the position in the table will say we are, and we are going to be trying our hardest, obviously, to get out of it. We felt like we were building a bit of momentum leading up to Christmas, and then December really hit us hard, and we need to find some results from somewhere and say lots of hard work on the training pitch, and then hopefully we can take it into the games and start getting some positive results. Just briefly, you see enough quality in that team around you to stay up? Definitely, it's a squad last year which was up in the playoffs and sort of penalty kick away from going to the Premier League, and added players sat this year, and we just need to make sure that we give absolutely everything in training and obviously take that into a match day. And I'm sure if we can get 1 or 2 results, then momentum will build and we can start to get back up the table. Don't worry, I'm done stitching you up just for now. Our next clash would have been a Premier League relegation battle last season. Sadly for both Sunderland and Hull, they're now both scrapping to avoid the drop into League One.
Sunderland boss Chris Coleman placed his trust in youth for this vital relegation battle, with 6 of his starting 11 just 23 years old or younger, including 19-year-old Josh Major, whose early shot was dealt with by Alan McGregor in the visiting goal. But Hull, winless in 6 going into this one and clearly lacking confidence, were pretty poor in the first 45 minutes as the young pups went for them. And after 20 minutes, it was the other teenage striker, 18-year-old Joel Asoro, who made the breakthrough with his first senior goal. Hull's slide down the table shows no sign of letting up, although at least they made a fight of it in the second half. Evandro's thunderbolt was cleared off the line by Brian Oviedo, who just happened to be standing in the right place. And in stoppage time, the home side almost let it slip, only for Robin Reuter to make a vital save from former Black Cat David Myler. Only goal difference now keeps Hull out of the bottom 3, but both these two face a hard road ahead.
Big win for us, big 3 points, huge performance. And like you rightly say, there's other teams now coming towards us that's been above us for some time. So let's hope that we keep climbing.
Do I think they can stay up this year? Well, they'll have to rely on the younger players. We know that. We'll have to bring in a couple of players. Chris Martin's been linked. He would be a good signing. But can they stay well with Chris Coleman? I think it's possible. Hull look very poor today, and we've got to try and finish sort of above them, and it gives me hope that we can.
Unfortunately for us, under Nigel Atkins, results aren't improving and we've stopped scoring goals. That's 6 games out of the last 7 without a goal. Can't see it improving. Not his fault. The club owners are responsible for the ongoing issues with the fans and also for the lack of investment in the team. Unless we bring at least 2 or 3 players in before the end of the window, I can see us being League One next season.
Birmingham wore red in a bid to stave off the January blues, and they put Preston under early pressure. Good work from Jeremy Boga. And then Sam Gallagher gave the Lily Whites a fright. Keeper Chris Maxwell did just about enough. A heavy loss to Derby aside, Steve Cotterill's men have shown some fight in the battle against relegation of late, and Boga was in creative mood. Neither Chakandoy or Gallagher could convert his cross. They went behind to the team chasing the playoffs, though. Paul Gallagher's free kick headed into the path of academy graduate Ben Davis, gleefully registering his first for the club. The visitors kept plugging away, though, and just after the hour mark, the persistence of Jacques Magoma got the better of Paul Huntington. He picked out Gallagher, who notched his 5th goal in his last 7 games. Steve Cotterill was looking for his first ever league win at Deepdale as a manager, and he nearly got it, only for Tom Barkhazen to clear from Ndoye's effort. That's 12 championship draws now for Preston.
Based on the way the game was played, the flow of the game, if I'm being honest, I'm delighted with a point, because we didn't deserve, I'm not even sure we deserved the point.
It's been really hard to try and get a settled 11. That has been unbelievably difficult, and that's taken up probably a good 2 months of my reign, trying to get that sorted, get them straight, get them up to speed with what we want, and I just feel as though that's coming.
The last time Bolton beat Ipswich 15 years ago, Freddie Bobic scored a hat-trick and Yuri Djorkaeff was on the score sheet. While those halcyon days have long gone, Bolton have been enjoying one of their best runs of the season, and straight from kick-off Josh Vela was only prevented from giving them the lead by Bartosz Białkowski. Ipswich had lost their last 3 away matches and nearly went in front when Luke Chambers was denied by Ben Anik. Martin Waghorn's shot on the rebound was that of a striker who's now not scored in 9. Bolton chairman Ken Anderson says only an exceptional offer would prize top scorer Gary Medine away from the club, and this is the reason why. 4 goals in 6 now for Medine. Joe Garner began his career just up the road at Blackburn, and he scored the equaliser with 8 minutes remaining. Great work from Waghorn and David McGoldrick to set him up. And Ipswich could have won the game too. Waghorn shaking the upright as the game went into stoppage time. His barren run continues. Bolton move a point clear of the drop.
Important point then for Birmingham and Bolton, but huge result for Sunderland and your old Wales manager Chris Coleman, again doing it with the younger players.
Yeah, it's a massive, massive result for them, and I think when you're down there, do you go with experience and hope that'll get you through? But sometimes when you bring some fresh faces in, it just lifts the whole place, and the fans love to see homegrown players coming through and doing well, and obviously that's happened today.
You've been in that situation before and suffered that double relegation. If you're Sunderland or you're Hull, what sort of pressure's going around both those clubs at the moment?
Oh, it's such a horrible position to be in. The whole place will feel toxic at times, and one win can really make a difference and build confidence, but once you're in that rut and you can't see where the next win's coming from, the pressure comes from all angles, from the fans and things like that. So you know what's online, you know that there's going to be some staff which could possibly lose their jobs if you get relegated again and things like that. So there is a lot of pressure. But
how do you perform under that pressure?
I say it's difficult. You sometimes get an angry crowd and you've got to try and put that to one side and perform, and unfortunately at Wolves we couldn't handle the pressure at that time and obviously got that relegation, but both Hull and Sunderland will be desperate for not to happen to them.
Every point, another breather. Yeah. Before we get stuck into League 1 and 2 goal rush, there's just one more game to bring you, and it's the clash between promotion chasing Derby and Bristol City, and the penalty that never was. Friday night's game now, and 2 teams heading in different directions. 8 matches unbeaten sees Derby streak into 2nd, while 3 straight defeats left Bristol City in 5th. Commentary from Andy Hinchcliffe and Daniel Mann.
Back in by Brownhill. Able to complete the job, and where's he going to drop? Oh!
Jamie Patterson, head in hands.
It's a great opportunity on the half volley. You should be keeping this down. I'm saying you should score, but you should work Scott Carson.
The strike does not beat Frank Fielding.
Well, the most important thing for Frank Fielding here, he doesn't move behind his wall. If he does, he doesn't get back and save this.
It'll be Russell this time.
You can't whip this up and over the wall. You've got to go over power, so Johnny Russell blasts it.
Curtis Davis looking to attack it. It'll drop here for Johnny Russell. Oh, and Keogh, extraordinary. And Davis, and Fielding will get there.
Oh, it's really sloppy defensive work from Bristol City. They all get drawn towards the first ball into the box. That leaves Johnny Russell free. It looked to me like Richard Keogh's actually ahead of the ball here as it gets gunned his way. That's why he's trying to readjust and kind of flick it goalwards rather than make a decent contact with his instep.
Here's Russell. Oh, and it will break kindly for Lawrence. It was a stinger, but the power didn't beat Steele.
Good thing about Tom Lawrence here is he's backing up the play, supporting the play, expecting maybe the ball breaking his way. It's from Magnuson. It's a brilliant save from Luke Steele.
Here's Russell. Nugent. Under his spell. Vidra's free. Oh, and Steele to deny him. His clearest sight of goal, and Bristol City must have feared the worst, but the goalkeeper was there. Here's Jerome. And he'll get there. Aidan Flint trying to get back, trying to wrestle him off it. Magnuson launching it and had to. Maybe Jerome was a fraction too honest there.
Just about to say that, he could easily have thrown himself to the ground. He tried to stay on his feet and kick the ball and score.
Well, they still might hear Derby, it's Winnall. It's Jerome. Decision this time, well, goes against Cameron Jerome, who's about to be booked.
We've seen so many of these types of situations recently where a striker just pinches the ball past the defender. Is it maybe the exaggerated way that he goes down? Is there some contact from Aidan Flint? Does he catch him on the ankle? As he goes in there, to me, he does catch him. That is a penalty, but maybe the way Cameron Jerome kind of arches his back and flings himself to the ground kind of changes the referee's mind.
It was probably the most obvious penalty you see around, you know, and I've seen it again 3 or 4 times. It was an absolute stonewall penalty.
Well, my view was that I think Rams TV were doing their own VAR, I think, and it's wrong that they'd done that. But I did look up, and to be fair, it did look like a penalty. But sometimes you get away with those. I thought we had 3 or 4 decisions that didn't go our way today, so maybe that was the bit of luck we needed.
To swallow dive or not to swallow dive, if you're Cameron Jerome, do you go down like that?
100%. I
Really?
think, yeah, well, not as exaggerated as what he did, of course, but I think you have to go down. It's a difficult one as a player because you want to stay on your feet, but there's so many times that you will do and you won't get the penalty. And an important time in the game like that, there's contact. He goes down, but it's just the theatrical nature of it, which is obviously a little bit too much.
The brilliant look from Flint as well. He knows that he's about to give a penalty away, which of course he doesn't. But that could have cost his team then, Jerome.
Yeah, obviously it's 3 points and they'll be catching up with Wolves a little bit, and obviously a bit of daylight then between 3rd place. So it's an important decision, but obviously he knows for next time just to keep the arms down a little bit.
The brilliant part of the commentary where he says, oh, he stayed on his feet there, perhaps he should have gone down, and then he goes down, although, as you say, it's the way he goes down. It's one of those moments, like I say, maybe they'll reflect on it and think, perhaps what that could have done to the top of the table, where Wolves lead at the top. That's been reduced to 9 points after their first defeat in 14. Aston Villa, they're 4th after a 4th straight win. Fulham climbed to 7th after their biggest league win since October 2011. Sunderland off the bottom after just their 2nd win in 24 home league games. Hull dropped to 21st. Burton now prop up the table. Stay with us for Goal Rush from Sky Bet Leagues 1 and 2, and the long wait for Bury fans is over. They've been waiting since November the 21st for a league goal and a win, and Harry Bunn, well, he might have just sent them home happy. Welcome to Goal Rush, and we start in Sky Bet League One, where Doncaster Rovers manager Darren Ferguson has apologised for his choice of words in his attack on refereeing standards last weekend. He has until Monday to respond to an FA charge. Today, his side were at Shrewsbury.
Plenty of shoulder shrugging in Shropshire in the first hour of this one for Doncaster. It was a story of set pieces. After Matt Sadler had put the home side in front on 21 minutes, they doubled their advantage early in the second period through Norwich loanee Carlton Morris. Darren Ferguson just angry with his team's defending rather than the ref this weekend. He was happy with their response to going 2 down though. The fight back started with a corner of their own, Mathieu Baudry halving the deficit against a normally sound defensive unit. Another sub contributed a controversial equaliser as Rovers maintained their unbeaten run. Tunisian Issam Ben Kemis floated forward and keeper Dean Henderson was deemed to carry the ball over the line, a decision which damaged the Shrews' automatic promotion hopes.
The general consensus from all round is that it's not over the line. I think if it does go over the line at all, it's after he's been pushed in the back of the net. So, all that aside, it's difficult to take.
It's been a difficult week for Plymouth after defender Ryan Edwards was diagnosed with testicular cancer. He was in the stand to watch his side take the lead when they won a penalty. Shea Dunkley's challenge on Graham Carey gave the Plymouth number 10 the chance to score his 9th of the season, as Argyle looked to stretch their unbeaten run to 9 matches. A win for Wigan would set a new club league record of 6 in a row away from home, and they were level within 2 minutes. Nick Powell's cross got a touch from Will Grigg, or so he says, for his first goal since a hat-trick at Oxford before Christmas. Gavin Massey scored 2 wonder goals at Plymouth for Leyton Orient last season, and he returned to score again in first half stoppage time, this to put the league leaders in front. Wigan knocked Bournemouth out of the FA Cup in midweek, and defender Dan Burn, who scored against the Premier League side, got his second in as many matches via a Plymouth head to make it 3-1. The Latics unbeaten in 10 league games now.
Upwardly mobile Blackburn made their first ever visit to Fleetwood's Highbury Stadium, and it didn't take them long to feel right at home. Bradley Dack just can't seem to stop scoring on his travels, and his 28th minute strike made it 6 out of 6 on the road. But Rovers didn't have it all their own way after that, and when Charlie Mulgrew attempted a kamikaze back pass 10 minutes into the second half, Conor McElhaney coolly slotted his first league goal since his double on opening day. In truth, the home side had the better chances after that, but failed to take them, and they were punished when Richard Smallwood picked his spot to perfection late on. There's just no stopping Tony Mowbray's men. It's now 16 unbeaten in the league and into the top 2 for the first time this season.
Both these sides went into this match unbeaten in their last 6 league games, and it was Gillingham who looked set to continue that record when a move started by new loan signing Callum Riley was finished off expertly by Lee Martin. But Scunthorpe have made Glanford Park something of a fortress of late, unbeaten in the league in their last 7 there before today, and they got back on level terms thanks to Josh Morris's 9th of the season. Steve Lovell seems to be getting the best out of his Gills side at the moment, and they were back ahead when Josh Parker, who had set up the first, outmuscled all around him to get on the score sheet himself. An excellent afternoon's work for the visitors was completed by Tom Eaves, who clinically slotted past Rory Watson and put through on goal. Lovell's got his side moving in the right direction.
Bradford's poor run looked like coming to an end at Bristol Rovers. The Bantams were helped into a half-time lead when Ollie Clark's handball was penalised by referee Lee Swaby. Charlie White's penalty flew under the body of Adam Smith, and he couldn't resist rubbing it in. But the Rovers fans behind that goal were to have the last laugh. A second half comeback began with Joe Partington's goal shortly after the interval. And the gas turned it around in the game's final moments. Ellis Harrison's footwork proved bewildering to Nathaniel Knight-Percival, who gave away an 84th minute penalty. Chris Lyons kept his cool, and Resurgent Rovers were headed for another encouraging result. They're unbeaten in 5 now and climbing away from trouble. A well-taken third goal by Liam Sercombe confirmed Rovers' victory and Bradford's 3rd straight defeat in League and Cup.
The new year has brought a renewed promotion push from Charlton, which continued against Walsall. Mark Marshall's creativity was matched by the finishing skills of Joe Aribo. When it comes to goal scoring, the visitors regularly rely on the magic of Erhun Öztürk, and he was at it again with his 14th of the season. The home side were looking to make it 3 wins on the spin and took a giant step towards doing just that when Corey Roberts tried to keep up with Steffi Mavididi and got an unfortunate final touch. Mavididi's celebrations would be repeated in the final minute when he had a goal of his own to enjoy. His persistence paid off, which just about summed up Charlton's performance too.
Another good win then for Wigan, for Blackburn too, into that top 2. But let's talk about your old club, the club you supported since a boy, Shrewsbury. Are you surprised that Paul Hurst coming in, what he's managed to do with the team?
I think from last year I am. Obviously he took over and they were totally, chance of staying up were diminished, and he's come in and done an absolutely terrific job, and I know the town are so proud of what they're doing, and I'm watching with great interest because they're developing such a great team, a great team spirit, and it's all down to Paul Hurst and his
work. You managed to go and watch a couple of the games?
Yeah, I get down there as often as I can. Obviously it's difficult with fixture clashes, but I went to the West Ham game a couple of weeks ago, and they've got a real good atmosphere down at the club at the moment, and new training ground as well. Everything's pointing in the right direction, so I really hope they can just hold on to that second place, even though they just dropped out of it this evening. I'm sure they can bounce back.
One word, win promotion?
Yep.
Good. Elsewhere in League One, 7 defeats in 8 have seen Southend remove boss Phil Brown and most of his backroom staff. Their game at Rochdale was postponed due to a waterlogged pitch today. In other managerial news, bottom club Bury sacked manager Chris Lucchetti after just 2 months. In his 8 league games in charge, they took just 1 point and scored no goals. Ryan Lowe and Ryan Kidd were in charge for the visit to Oxford.
More managerial changes for Bury, but the story looked ominously familiar. Right on half-time, Dwight Tiendale, he of Swansea City and Netherlands fame once upon a time, crossing for James Henry to finish past Connor Ripley, one of 4 former Oxford players in Bury's starting lineup. Here's an interesting fact: Bury striker George Miller's the nephew of former referee Mark Halsey. A more relevant fact, he scored their equaliser, having only just returned on loan from Middlesbrough a day earlier. That goal ended Bury's run of over 800 minutes without a goal, and just 4 minutes later, Harry Bunn put the icing on the cake. Some generous defending allowing Bury to end their 8-match losing run.
With AFC Wimbledon starting the day in the relegation places and Blackpool not far off them, this game had an air of extra significance about it. It was the hosts who took the lead in the second half in Route 1 fashion. Joe Lumley couldn't hold on to Cody McDonald's effort, and Liam Trotter showed alertness to put away the rebound. The home side's lead was doubled by the latest addition to Neil Ardley's squad. Substitute Joe Pigott signed from Maidstone United on Monday. His debut goal, 4 minutes after coming on, sealed a vital victory for his new club, who move out of the drop zone.
Just 22 miles of M1 tarmac separates these local rivals, who are right next to each other in a relegation scrap too. Northampton went in front on 16 minutes when John Joe O'Toole made it 3 from 3. Joe Bunny deserves an assist for the cross, by the way, but that lead would stand for only 3 minutes. Osman so bullying the Northampton back line, and his pullback setting up Alex Gilby. The Dons are going well in the FA Cup and have a great chance of reaching the 5th round, but it's just 1 win in 11 in the league now, after former Don Chris Long grabbed the winner shortly before half-time. The result means that Northampton move out of the relegation places to be replaced there by their local rivals. And to round off a thoroughly wretched afternoon for the visitors, substitute Chucks Anike got into a stoppage-time shoving match with O'Toole, which failed to impress referee Brett Huxtable. Perhaps this wasn't the day when neighbours became good friends.
It's nice to win games. It doesn't matter what time it is. You know, obviously it does help for the confidence, and the feeling is great. We want to prolong that feeling as long as possible.
After winning 3 games on the spin, Peterborough had failed to win their last 3 league matches, but performances like this underline their potential to make the playoffs. Junior Marias began the scoring with his first goal since returning from a 3-month injury layoff in December. The honeymoon period's well over for Oldham manager Richie Wellens. Their cause not helped when substitute George Edmondson was sent off for a needless tug on Jack Marriott's shirt. Having got an initial bounce from his players after taking caretaker charge, Wellens has now gone 8 without a victory. They're showing fighting spirit though, with 10 men unlucky not to level, and Dan Gardner hit the post. Peterborough beat off a lot of interest to sign George Cooper from Crewe this week. Chris Forrester with a delightful assist to allow the 21-year-old to score on his debut. Peterborough's director of football, Barry Fry, thinks Jack Marriott can go on to be the best of all of the prolific strikers Posh have produced in the last decade. The EFL's top scorer won and took the penalty to grab his 24th goal in all competitions this season and add another couple of quid to his value.
A rousing minute's applause for ex-Rotherham players who passed away over the last year before their game with Portsmouth, including former Division 3 title winner and fans' favourite Rodney Fern, who died this week. The pace of Jamal Lowe put his old side on the back foot in the first half. He tested the shot-stopping skills of homekeeper Marek Rodak. Pompey boss Kenny Jackett was back at the club he managed for just 39 days last season. Lowe continued to cause problems, getting into another good position, but he was disappointed to see teammate Brett Pittman head tamely goalwards. Just when it looked like we'd all be spreading the news of a draw at the New York Stadium, Paul Warne's outfit produced a finish worthy of striking legend Fern. Former Portsmouth man Michael Smith with the cross on his home debut, and Joe Mattock boosted his team's playoff hopes as they leapt above their opponents in the table.
Wigan, now 10 unbeaten, then have extended their lead to 5 points. Blackburn unbeaten in 16, up to 2nd. Gillingham climbed to 11th. They were 23rd when Steve Lovell was appointed manager in October. Bury remain bottom despite their first win since November. MK Dons and Oldham drop into the relegation zone after wins for AFC Wimbledon and Northampton move them to 19th and 18th respectively. Dave, just briefly, such is the way on a Saturday night. We're just hearing news that MK Dons have actually parted company with Robbie Neilson tonight. Surprised with that, given that they've just dropped in the relegation zone?
I am a little bit surprised, but it's a club with huge ambition and they don't expect to be in the bottom 4, and results recently haven't been good enough. And unfortunately, it's the manager who has to pay the price.
OK, we'll have more reaction to come on that, no doubt, next week. But do stay with us for all the League 2 action coming up next, including a full-on afternoon for referee Darren Handley, as Mansfield and Cheltenham saw plenty of red. Hello again, and it's into Sky Bet League 2 we head next on Goal Rush, and we start with bottom club Barnet and managerial changes at the Hive, where Mark McGee has moved upstairs and Graham Wesley has been brought in to try to stave off relegation. Today, they're up against Lincoln.
If John Akinde can rediscover his prolific scoring form of previous seasons, then Barnet can certainly get out of the hole they're in. New boss Graham Wesley was thrilled to see the striker netting his 4th of the season. The former Newport manager's first game in charge was going well. That crossbar grazer from Ryan Watson. Danny Cowley made a double change at half-time for Lincoln, and one of the subs, new signing James Wilson, scored with his first touch in an imp shirt. In front of a massive away following, they chased a winner, but the home team clung on for their first point in 6 games after Danny Rowe rattled the frame of the goal.
We had a lot of cramp setting in second half, and the determination and the guts that they showed to stay in the game with that cramp setting in throughout the field was awesome. It's a wonderful sign for us.
Goals aren't usually in short supply at Kenilworth Road, but Luton struggled against Morecambe. Johnny Mullin's second half goal was the best the Hatters could manage. It ended up being enough. Morecambe couldn't capitalise on what was a decent performance. Stephen Auld off target as the Shrimps slipped to a first defeat of 2018.
Notts County haven't lost in the league at Meadow Lane since April, but Exeter were knocking on that door when Dean Moxey couldn't quite finish the job, but Jake Taylor could. Given that the Grecians had lost their last 5 games on their travels, this was all the more enjoyable for the Devon day trippers, and it got better thanks to a Jayden Stockley special. In fact, the Exeter number 11 came mighty close to making it 15 goals for the season and putting his side out of sight. Instead, the Magpies threatened to steal something out of the match when they crept back into it. Shola Amiobi went down in the area and their chances of a comeback immediately went up. But although John Stead did the business from the penalty spot, that was as good as it got, as County's 9-month unbeaten streak came to an end.
I thought they threw the bodies on the line and everything what just dropped. It just seemed to drop to a yellow shirt today instead of a black and white one. But as I said, I just thought the lads were terrific in the second half, but lots to improve on from the first half.
Port Vale were in cruise control early at promotion chasing Accrington. Tom Pope inevitably in the thick of things. His 13th league goal of the season after just 3 minutes probably won't be making Stanley keeper Aaron Chapman's personal highlight reel. Chapman was made to look foolish again just before half-time. Michael Tong hadn't scored since August, but his driven free kick clearly took a deflection, which left the goalie stranded. Accrington's hopes of getting anything out of this one looked pretty stranded too, but then Billy Key went to work, first supplying the assist for Sean McConville to pull one back early in the second half. No controversy there, but plenty of Vale anger 3 minutes later when Key himself claimed the last touch to bring Stanley level. Everyone in a black shirt convinced it was off his hand, but without VAR, the goal stood. And then, just to really rub it in, Accrington completed an impressive turnaround when Key turned provider again and McConville applied the finish to keep Stanley's promotion push firmly on course.
Wycombe had lost all 5 of their previous matches at Crewe, and it looked pretty ominous when after just 6 minutes Nathan McGinley brought down Charlie Kirk in the area. Chris Porter had just enough power to beat Scott Brown for his 12th goal of the season. Either side of a heavy defeat to Preston in the FA Cup, Wycombe had won back-to-back league matches, and they were level when Paris Cowan Hall touched in from Adebayo Akinfenwa's header. Few in League Two have a better delivery than Joe Jacobson, and another free kick caused panic in the Crewe defence. A goal that outraged their manager David Artell so much he was sent to the stand. Nathan Tyson the scorer. That came on 84 minutes, but on 88 Crewe were level when Harry McCurdy scored on his debut. But just as they did when the sides met in September, Wycombe made it 3-2 in added on time. Craig McHale-Smith with the winner.
Match officials don't have it easy. Just ask referee Darren Handley, who would have his work cut out this afternoon. First, he awarded a penalty when Cheltenham's Mohamed Issa was brought down by Hayden White. Harry Pell was on hand to put the visitors in front from the spot with his 3rd of the season. Mansfield, though, had lost just once in their previous 14 in the league, and soon they were level when CJ Hamilton got on the end of an Alfie Potter cross. That was before everything got a little bit bad-tempered. First, it was the visitors who were reduced to 10 men when Taylor Moore was adjudged to have elbowed Danny Rose, and Hanley produced a red card for the first time in the game, and not the last. To make matters worse, in the aftermath, Robins manager Gary Johnson was sent to the stands for an altercation with Stags assistant boss Paul Rayner. And if you thought that was the last you'd seen of the referee's red, then think again. This second-half challenge from White and the dismissal that followed even up the numbers. With Mansfield's numerical advantage wiped out, Cheltenham were able to take the lead again when Danny Wright found Fulham loanee Elijah Adebayo, and the 20-year-old netted his first goal for the Robins. But as the clock ticked down, the Stags would again show what's quickly becoming a signature resilience. With 10 minutes left, Oxford loanee Kane Hemmings stabbed home to bring his side level. After a brief interlude of goals, it was about time for the referee to get busy again. This time it was Cheltenham's Wright who was sent for an early bath after coming together with Potter. Now it was at 10 versus 9 in the Stags' favour, and they would capitalise in the 94th minute when Manny Onoresi couldn't clear his lines, leaving Hamilton to take full advantage to seal all 3 points. And breathe.
I think that's our cue to do both. I mean, we've seen everything today, but all in that last game. I do want to just ask you, though, about Luton, another of your old clubs. Yeah. I know when they flogged you, there were some financial problems at the club, but to see them turn things around.
Yeah, they've been faced with so much adversity over the last 10 years or so, and Nick Owen and his consortium came in at the time and stabilised the club, and it's really bearing the fruits of that now, and they've got a terrific manager in Nathan Jones come in and made a real difference to the club, and they finished 4th last season, and looks like they're going to go one step better this
Fellow
season.
Welshman. Speaking of which, Ryan Giggs, new manager at Wales, right position, right job for him?
I think so. He's obviously been waiting for a big job, and say international manager doesn't come much bigger, but he's a global name, and he's going to put Wales even further on the football map, so hopefully he can start well.
Yeah, perhaps another call-up, eh? 6 more games to come now, and kicking us off, the 2 teams just outside the top 7. Coventry City up against Swindon Town.
Maxime Biamou has had to wait all season for his first league goal for the Sky Blues, but when it finally arrived, I think all can agree it was worth the wait. Coventry are beginning to move nicely through the gears in League 2, as was Mark McNulty, until Matt Preston intervened. Referee Steve Martin didn't see the funny side, which meant McNulty from the spot and 2-0. But Swindon made sure they were back in it just before half-time. Ollie Banks on the score sheet in just his 2nd game for the Robins. In fact, the Wiltshire side might have been level by the break. Luke Norris was the man taking aim, and believe it or not, Lee Burge actually managed to get fingertips on that. If that was close, how about this for a what happened next moment? Chris Robertson, Kane Woolery and Banks are all still probably wondering how they didn't manage to score, which will have been even more frustrating when the home side did hit the target again. McNulty's 2nd of the match and 10th in his last 12. He and Coventry are on a roll.
Newport fans who attended this game were given priority to buy tickets for next week's FA Cup tie against Spurs, so it was no surprise that over 5,500 showed up. Porrick Hammond almost got them on their feet early on when he rattled the bar. Midfielder Robbie Wilmot would also get in on the act, finding almost exactly the same spot on the goal frame with this effort. The home side got the lead that their pressure deserved before the break. A superb cross from Brighton loanee Ben White found Hammond, who duly headed home. And just 4 minutes later, it was 2 when Josh Sheehan was brought down by Josh Lennon in the area. Crawley must be sick of the sight of Mickey Demetriou. This coolly taken spot kick was his 4th against the Red Devils in 3 games. Crawley got back into it minutes after the restart. Captain Jimmy Smith's effort was adjudged to have crossed the line via a deflection, but the Exiles would hold on to maintain their 100% start to 2018. Roll on Spurs.
Grimsby took their somewhat lurid 3rd strip to Essex, presumably in an attempt to turn Colchester's stomachs. Carly Osborne rattled the bar as the Mariners had their rivals feeling queasy. Grimsby hadn't won here since 1972, but it came as no surprise when they took the lead shortly before the break. Derby loanee Charles Vernham with his first goal in English football. But maybe Colchester eventually got used to that nauseating kit, because they came out with purpose in the second half and were level barely 2 minutes in. All a bit scrambled, but a finish of genuine quality from Sean Murray, who made sure with a top corner finish. Colchester are winless in 5 now, but at least Grimsby have stopped their run of 4 straight defeats. They could have won it too, but for a stunning save from Sam Walker to deny Vernham what would have been a worthy winner.
There was a stalemate at the Lamex where Stevenage struggled to create chances. Tom Pett's header for the home side was the best we saw from open play. Danny Granger's free kick was as close as Carlisle came. Suffice it to say, this was no classic.
Cambridge have generally struggled to score away from home. They got off to a good start today, though, as the men of Sean Derry were merry. Just 3 minutes in, George Maris on target. Should struggling Rovers survive their first season of league football, the goals of Christian Doidge will be a big factor. His 18th in all competitions got his team level. The U's were soon back in front as Mehdi Alito squeezed home from an unlikely angle. This was a real pendulum swinger of the first 45. Kids were at the new lawn for free, and they enjoyed the relentless action. Dale Grubb gave Cambridge food for thought with his team's 2nd equaliser. The hosts pushed on from there. On his first home start, Grubb greedy for goals as he grabbed a glorious 2nd to put them ahead for the first time. The shackles well and truly off. Mark Cooper's outfit never looked back from that point. After an error from keeper David Ford, Doidge got another, a far cry from last week when his manager accused him of diving, tongue firmly in cheek, of course. And the gaffer was salivating over this showing as West Brom loanee and debutant Tavon Campbell rounded off a memorable day.
Chesterfield will be hoping that last week's victory over table-toppers Luton can kick-start their season, and they took the lead here thanks to this Lewis Reed free kick. You wouldn't blame the Yeovil players for having one eye on next week's FA Cup tie against Man United, but Middlesbrough loanee Lewis Wing certainly didn't seem distracted when he unleashed this effort to bring his side level. The Spyrites, though, seem to have a newfound confidence, and when Reid picked Otis Khan's pocket and sent Christian Dennis through in injury time, the striker kept his composure. The same can't be said for Khan, who felt he'd been fouled in the build-up. He allegedly barged the referee off camera and was shown a red card. The midfielder, who's been the subject of a substantial bid from elsewhere, could face a lengthy ban.
Luton then are now 6 points clear at the top after their win and Notts County's defeat. Accrington remain third and only 4 points separate second to seventh. Barnet are now 5 points adrift at the bottom. The only sides in the bottom half to win were Forest Green and Chesterfield, but they remain in 23rd and 22nd. A reminder to join Colin for highlights from the second legs of the Carabao Cup semi-finals. He's at the Emirates for Arsenal versus Chelsea, delicately poised at 0-0. They're both warmed up with 4 goals each today, though. Join him at 10:35 on Wednesday night. Well, that's it for tonight. Thanks and good luck to you, Dave, and the team for the rest of the season. We leave you, though, with a team who finally notched up their first away win. I just don't know how the Lions will sleep tonight. Goodbye.